Jerry's so tired of hearing the BS that wants us to study hard to do well in the IB. Because who cares? He knows he will somehow become successful in the future, but the annoying IB is a speed bump to success that is slowing him down. Frankly, he doesn't really care about the IB. He tries to learn it as he goes and procrastinates until the last minute. Despite his parents and society telling him that he needs to do the IB, he's just trying to survive. Bjorn also wants to become successful in life, but he knows that he needs the correct mindset, habits, and disciplines to make it. Despite the IB not directly relating to his entrepreneurial future goals, he embraces the challenge to become stronger. All year, Bjorn has set his mind to attain his one goal, get a 45 in the IB. How does he achieve that? Throughout his journey, he's able to maintain a balance between his hectic school and private life. He gains better clarity on what he needs to achieve and ends up controlling his life. Despite all these challenges, he sees it as an opportunity to grow. He stays disciplined, he learns the skills of hard work, and ends up achieving his perfect goal of a 45. Hello everybody, my name is Joaquin Arvello. I am a current UPenn Wharton dual degree engineering student, and I got a perfect 45 in the IB in May 2021. So here are 5 tips that you need to succeed in the IB diploma, and stay until the last one because one of these 5 tips is actually probably something that you haven't heard anywhere else on the internet. And before I get into that, I want to make it very clear that the IB is somewhat challenging. And I say somewhat because you can actually manage this challenge pretty well. For example, most students blame the fact that the IB is very content heavy. There are tons of HLs and SLs, as well as the fact that it's pretty fast paced as one of the reasons why they think it's challenging. However, I would argue that one of the main reasons why people think that is because they haven't developed the proper skills and execution strategies that they need to achieve success in the IB. Also, you need to understand that that level of challenge is simply a reflection of your character and your skills. If you have stronger skills, you'll be able to conquer the IB much faster. And if you have a better character, it'll feel less challenging. This is often why I suggest viewers who watch this right now to build a stronger character before or throughout the IB journey. One of the best ways that you can do this is by going to the gym regularly, because it's a form of difficulty, is a form of suffering to say, that builds your character and makes you stronger. And ultimately remember that it's the challenges and the progress that makes you and turns you into a stronger individual and allows you to grow. And something I noticed is that when I reframed challenges, when I reframed difficulties into this perspective of becoming a better person, of becoming stronger, of growing, of learning to achieve more, I actually started to realize that that skill can be applied to almost any discipline in life, whether that's the IB or my university admissions or my personal life. In fact, before I got a perfect 45 in the IB, I was doing rather poorly in the MYP. And it was through that MYP process that built me up. I had to learn new strategies and whatnot. That way, when the IB came, I'd already gone through the challenges of attempting to improve my study skills. So with that being said, that the IB can be difficult if you don't have the correct skills, let me teach you the 5 tips that allows you to gain that edge in the IB. In fact, before I reveal those skills, you can actually read my entire extended essay for free if you want to, my physics extended essay on rocket propulsion that I got a perfect A in. You can read that if you type in the code extended essay into the link in the description down below, right? Simply go to grizzly.com/Easter egg and then type in the code extended essay and you can get my entire extended essay for free. And you can also check out the video on my channel that explains it. The first tip for success in the IB really is a way to study. And the next 3 tips are basically going to fall into this 3-step process when it comes to studying for any exam. The first of which is to pre-study in a state of flow. Now, this is a study strategy that is very easy to say, but difficult to stay consistent with. So basically what you do is before class, the day before class, you spend literally 15 minutes pre-studying the content that you're going to learn in class tomorrow and do that in a state of flow. I mean, just according to these 2 articles, this helps a lot with studying and retention. And more importantly, it primes your brain to look for certain things during the lecture. And remember, this is only 15 minutes that you're doing. So just think simply of the trade-off here. You're basically spending 15 minutes to make the then hour-and-a-half long lecture that you're going to have in the IB. You're making that hour-and-a-half long lecture significantly more productive. So the way that I did this and I stayed consistent with it is that every single morning when I drove on the bus, I would spend some time either doing past paper questions or reviewing for the day ahead. And this could be very simple as just watching some YouTube videos that explain the concepts or going ahead and reading the textbook. Whatever you need to prime your brain to look for certain things in class will save you tons of time, help you understand the concept faster, and more importantly, will help you get that 45 in the IB. You also want to do your best in reaching a state of flow, which is utter complete absorption at the task at hand. So do that, go all in, take action, and see the results. The second tip is the importance of paying attention in class. So I had a friend, let's call him Jeff, who basically only paid attention during class. He did nearly no homework and he got pretty good grades. In other words, one of the only things he did was just show up and pay attention. And that was actually enough to get him some pretty good scores. I'm talking like 6s on some of his subjects. So my challenge to you with tip number 2 is to, in class, reach a state of flow. Because there's a few things to remember here. Number 1, you need to understand that multitasking is impossible. It's very actually dangerously seductive, but it's just not possible to do. And the research seems to support this relatively well. So remove any phone checking, any computer, just turn them off. Like, you really don't need them. I've basically never, I'm just trying to think, I've basically never used my computer during class unless we were working specifically on our IAs or on some type of related assignment, which again, didn't happen that often. What I do is I literally just get a piece of paper, take some notes with that. Remember, you already did the pre-studying before, so you shouldn't be searching things up during class. You should just be paying attention. And this is one of the most important parts. Understand that the IB, if you try to approach it from a manner of memorization, you're gonna fall short. Instead of trying to memorize what they sell you or what you read in the textbook or what you see online, look to thoroughly understand it. Those are two very different things when you look to understand it versus looking to memorize it. And one of the best things you can do to truly understand a concept is to see how all the different pieces of the puzzle fit together. That's what builds an intuitive understanding, right? Understanding how different concepts, different layers, different parts of the puzzle, how they all fit together. And multitasking is the best way to kill this, because when you're multitasking, it's worse than being stoned, right? I remember reading somewhere that when you are stoned, you lose 5 IQ points. Well, when you multitask, you actually lose 10 IQ points, so nearly double that. So point is, don't multitask, also don't get stoned. Understanding that multitasking will kill you. That's why it's so important to reach a state of flow. I also remember reading somewhere that it takes on average 25 minutes to get back into a state of flow after you've been pulled out. So let's say you're paying attention in class, you understand everything perfectly, and then for whatever reason, you get a text call and you fall down a WhatsApp message rabbit hole, right? That is a terrible way. Even if you only spend 30 seconds or 1 minute looking at the WhatsApp, or maybe even a few seconds, all of that progress that you made in flow takes significantly more time, up to 25 minutes to get back into that state of flow. Congratulations, you just found another Easter egg. From now on, I'm going to be doing all of my communications on Instagram instead of over email. I just found it's much easier, much faster. So give me a follow down on Instagram at Joaquin_Ravello. You can search that up on Instagram. Ask me any question you want there. I'll do my best to get back to you as fast as possible. All right, tip number 3 is what set me apart again from all the other students. And it was consistently studying past papers. So now that you've pre-studied and you thoroughly understand the concepts because you paid attention and you understood what was being taught in class, it is now time to do as many past paper questions as you possibly can, all right? You literally want to turn into a machine, into a bot when it comes to doing past paper questions. And I'm actually thinking of making a video on this in the future where I just try to replicate the manner in which I studied for math. And I found that math is actually one of the most gameable IB subjects because you just do as many past paper questions as humanly possible, and you start to realize and you start to think like the people who write the exam to begin with. Also, with your past paper questions, remember that you don't need to spend that much time studying. I spend maybe 3 to 4 hours every single day studying, right? If you include the time on the bus plus the time on the bus back, maybe an hour or so when I got back home, that's about 4 hours of studying every single day. And that's all I need. I don't need to be studying 8 hours or 10 hours or 15 hours like I see on this Reddit. Instead, 4 hours on a consistent basis throughout the entire 2-year program doing past paper questions is the recipe for success. That's how you get a 45. And the great part about this is that by the time I got home at around like 5:30ish, I studied for 30 to an hour. I was done by maybe 6:30 max. That meant literally that I had 3 hours to do whatever I wanted before I had to go to bed. Maybe even a little bit more if I stayed up a little bit later and then woke up a little bit later. Point is, I had 3, 4, maybe even 5 hours to do literally anything I wanted during the busiest time of the IB season. So the key point here is ultimately to turn this into a habit and also turn the initial one into a habit. One of the easiest ways to do this is to understand what I like to call a key choice, which are certain choices you make during the day that essentially set up all the preceding choices. So for example, let's say you get home from school, though exactly what you do after you get home is a key choice, right? Let's say you go and you start playing video games. That is a key choice. Or let's say you go and you start studying homework. That is also a key choice. Notice the following though, that if I was, let's say, to go and play video games, it is very likely that I'm going to maintain the momentum of that choice, right? In other words, once I've been playing video games for a while, it's much harder to stop playing video games and going studying than if I just started studying to begin with. Now, if I start studying to begin with, it is much easier to maintain that state of studying than, let's say, get up and go play some video games. Much easier than it would be if the reverse was true. So those were the first 3 tips. Here's the 4th tip. Understand that the IAs are also gameable. The thing that I like about the IAs is that there's a very clear rubric, so you can just game this so hard. I mean, mean, one of the stories that I mention all the time has to do with my physics IA, where we studied the rubric. We did a lot of the conclusion, the analysis, the evaluation. We did it in base of the rubric. We did it maybe 10 times throughout the entire year of just making the evaluation, then reflecting on the rubric, seeing how close we got, getting feedback, and then doing that again. We did that on repeat, and that allowed us to build up the skills that the IB is looking for. And in doing so, I got nearly perfect marks on my physics IA. And then the tip number 5 is to have enough energy. Now look, if you're studying, like I mentioned before, with tips 1 to 3, you should most certainly have the time to sleep 9 hours. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever that you shouldn't be getting 9 hours of sleep. All right, when I was in the IB, I went to bed at around 9:30. I woke up at around 6 to 6:30. So I got 8.5 hours to 9 hours of sleep every single night. All right, there were maybe 10 times where I got less than that. It was very rare for me to get anything under 8 hours. So it is possible to get done. Anyone who tells you otherwise, anyone who goes on Reddit and tells you that they get no sleep, or if there's some senior who's salty about his score who tell you that you need to sacrifice your soul, that is simply not true. Now, is it possible to get a high score while sacrificing your sleep? Absolutely it is, but it's not the most practical way, and it's not the only way. Most students think that this is the only way to get a high score. That it cannot be further from the truth. And I cannot mention how important it is for you to get proper sleep. It is really the root of your ability to focus, the root of your ability to reach states of flow, the root of your ability to memorize and remember and really understand the information. And it's really essential for all aspects of your life. And a few other things to maximize your energy. Remember, just eat good food. Like, it's not that hard. Drink a lot of water. I carry this around all the time. Exercise regularly. I was a student who was working with me at Grizzly Elite, and then he started exercising consistently, and as he was able to identify what didn't, and he cut away all the other stuff in his life that did not matter, video games, junk food, all the rest of it. He got healthy, he felt amazing, and ultimately he achieved his ideal score. I believe he got a 45 in the IB while having time to pursue all of his extracurriculars and get into his top university. So those are all the tips I have for this video. Before you leave though, I want to congratulate you for making it this far, okay? Most people, most students, they click on this video, they maybe look around quickly. They have this TikTok-like attention span and they're unable to focus or do anything of value. And remember, the fact that you're looking at this, hopefully if you're in the IB right now, or even before you're doing the IB, this video right here should give you that clarity that you need to carefully plan out your IB years. In fact, one of the biggest differences between Jerry and Bjorn is that Jerry has no direction. He just goes with the flow and hopefully he'll figure it out. That's basically just alchemy. The difference between Bjorn, on the other hand, is that he has a step-by-step process that he follows. These right here are the steps. Do that and you'll achieve extraordinary results. I also want to remind you that apart from the IB, and this is more just a general life observation, apart from the IB, you actually have a lot of time because you're young, which means that you need to be using time to your advantage by understanding that the choices you make today will have a huge impact for the rest of your life, right? The fact that you have time and compound interest and all these compounding things in your life means that a good choice you make today will have a profound difference for the rest of your life. And the choices that you make today are much stronger than any choices you could make later down in the future. In fact, there's a lot of choices that I made very early on when I was 11 and 12 years old that I still feel to this day. So right now is the time to start making those positive choices and then reaping the rewards for the rest of your life. All right. Hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions at all, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm more than happy to help there. And also go follow my Instagram because I have tons of lifestyle tips there, day in the life, my life in university, what I'm learning, what I'm reading, how I work out, and the rest of it. Go check that out. Shoot me a question there as well if you have any. And until next time, stay grizzly. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.